what have you done in the course that you thought were challenging?
Well, for me, I thought that like a lot of the calculations, whether it be for acids and bases um, or yeah, just for that because it's an HL course, that you would have to know a lot more content compared to SL, and that you would need to know how to apply your knowledge more. And so specifically for me, I think organic chem was one of the hardest because you would need to know like electrophilic substitutions or additions, like stuff like that SL people wouldn't have to know. And it's like a lot of models and a lot of calculations too.
Yeah, I thought biochemistry was quite hard because it kind of combines the chemistry side of things and then the biology side of things as well. So you have to start studying amino acids and lipids and enzymes and whatnot. And so the fact that it's not just chemistry anymore, it's like a mix between two different courses, I found that quite hard.
I think it's the first thing you ever learn in chemistry, which is
atomic structure. Atomic structure is so
and
atomic moles.
Numeric, what is it?
Quantitative
chemistry, because it's hard to visualize and conceptualize.
But also I think just the first unit itself is really troublesome.
Right.
Because it's just completely pretty much new to most people.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we talked about in physics, you would have known some of the knowledge in your head, like free body motion, like free body diagram. You know those. But the first topic in chemistry is totally new that you'll be sort of confused at start. So,
What have you learned in the course?
I think the biggest thing is just how to be a better scientist, Well, I learned a lot about acids and bases and how they work together and how pH works. And we also study a lot of electrolytic cells. And that's like your batteries in the phones and like in your cars and whatnot. So that was quite interesting to learn.
And you also learn, say, like how to calculate like energy and disorder in like substances, and when bonds break or when they make, and like the energy associated with that. I think apart from that, like you also learn a lot about uncertainties and like pipetting too. So more on like accuracy and like precision as like a future scientist, which you may be. So that's good practicals for you.
So I think chemistry explains how the world works, and I'm a chem and bio student, and a lot of the chemistry things that we learn explain what happens in bio. So, experiments.
Oh, you told my answer. Okay.
That's the best part because we're blessed with this teacher who does experiments every single class, and he gives it. So then it's easy to visualize what's actually happening. And when you remember that experiment on a test paper, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. So it's helpful and it's very intriguing.
Especially since sometimes when we read a reaction on a textbook,
You don't get it.
you don't get it. You know what happens, but you don't know what it looks like. So for example, in organic chemistry, we're learning about something called alkanes versus alkenes, and the reaction they go through is different in relation to, say, something called bromine water. And then so when you just read it, it's just pure memorization. But by looking at it through a lab in person, you can understand what's actually happening what I mean by that is the color change. So
you remember that it happened, right? Instead of just memorizing it.
You get to understand it. Yeah. And then because chemistry is a type of subject where it's really hard to memorize or understand something just through reading textbooks, but through labs and questions, we get to understand how the theories are put into place in real life.
I like the experiments in chemistry better than physics. Yeah. Well, like
the
mixing
explosions
stuff, and then boom, fire, changing color.
For me, it's that it brings everything together, like in biology, sure, you're told that so and so happens, but you don't know why, and chemistry explains that. And same in physics, sometimes you're told that like some reaction can happen, but you're not sure why. But in chemistry, you'll learn exactly why, and
Well, at least in the first part of the course, in the first year, we did a lot of experiments in class, and a lot of them were quite interesting. There was one with thermite, actually, where you light it on fire and then it burns through sand. It was quite interesting. I like that one.
And also make glass, right?
Yeah.
I think apart from like the experiments, for me, when I get something like right and I'm on a roll, I really like calculations, which sounds really nerdy, but like it's kind of fun once you get it.
What do you consider as the benefit of taking the course?
So I also take chemistry SL and biology HL, and then so to me chemistry is kind of sets the foundation of biology. So in biology, our first unit is like cell biology and molecular biology, and in that it looks like it's polymerization, but then you can also see how it comes into place in chemistry, and then the two are actually really intricately related, which is why my grades, our grades, chemistry option is biochemistry.
Okay, so to be specific, some of these things we learn from one class helps the other class. An example is the acids and bases unit in chemistry. And we know that we had to learn the effects on acidified rain and the effects on the ecosystem and the environment. Like it degrades, what is it? Calcium, yeah.
Calcium carbonate.
Yeah, calcium carbonate, like shells and fish skeletons, stuff like that. And then in bio, we had this whole ecosystem unit. So then in bio, we just learned that, pardon?
Carbon cycle.
Yeah, the carbon cycle, which acidifies rain. So then they're both connected, and you can make sense of the big picture, and you understand what's actually happening.
For example, building on that, right now in bio we're learning about human physiology, and then how food is translated into like fats and sugars, and then that's related to calorimetry, which is what we learned in chemistry. So a lot of times during bio class, the chem students will be like, oh, we know this because it's seen in chem, and it puts us ahead of everyone else in our class, and we get to not need to spend as much time into understanding and realizing what's happening. So taking chemistry, if you want to take biology, HL, chemistry, SL, or HL, depending on what you want, was a really good foundation for you.
So for me, because I take 3 sciences, I found that chemistry is probably the one that links all 3 of them the best together.
Right, you heard about biochem, you heard about like chemical engineering,
yeah.
you didn't really hear about like
physics
and bio.
Yeah.
Like,
so I feel like chemistry really links everything together, and like if you're doing these two sciences side by side, so if you're doing physics and chemistry, or if you're doing chemistry and biology,
it really helps.
You can
helps to build the knowledge.
You can really see the connections between everything, and then in chemistry you tend to go more into details.
It can help other subjects if you're taking 2 sciences.
For me, because I'm in biology HL too, that with the biochem and like the fundamentals behind how like say like photosynthesis or like macromolecules, how those work, I think that linking the course together has been really helpful for me.
The most important thing is that it's not all going to be blowing stuff up. You're not going to be learning how to make meth. It is a lot of studying, it's a lot of calculations, it's a lot of numbers, especially when you get into certain topics. But it is a fun course and it covers a lot of stuff, and definitely if you're interested in that kind of science, in the chemistry aspect of science, it's definitely an amazing course to take, especially at high level.
I think that you need to be prepared to like do a lot of practice on your own, outside of class, before class, in class, reviewing by yourself. Also, I think that you also need to be mentally prepared with like managing your time. Comparing yourselves to SL students is not a good way to go with HL sciences, especially because it just like you then regret taking HL because there's a lot more extra content, but believe me, it's actually worth it.
If you're not a science person,
chemistry is the one.
Chemistry is probably it's one of the better, between chemistry and biology.
I don't think there's that many misconceptions about chemistry, especially high-level chemistry. A lot of people say that it's a hard course, and it definitely is a hard course, but you do cover a lot of stuff that is it's interesting that you don't get in SL. Yeah, I mean, also people think it's chemistry, so you're just gonna like light stuff on fire, you're just gonna like dissolve stuff. No, it's not like that. It's not all gonna be fun and games.
It's a lot more theory based. But yeah.
The number one IB misconception is that chem is harder than bio.
Oh my god, yes.
But
yes.
it's not.
No,
I don't know.
It's not,
It's not
okay,
necessarily
you can't- A lot of people at our, so we have, in our school, people rank the sciences and they deem that physics, chem, bio, and environmental science, but that's not necessarily true. It depends on each person and what your strength is. So personally, bio is way harder than chem for me. And then, because bio, so briefly, bio is a lot about stuff that you can't prove, like
You
just know
can't
the
see
theories.
also.
Yeah, but chemistry, you get to be able to do experiments to see how the theories are actually
How it
real.
works.
Yeah.
It's more tangible. So an example would be we're learning about photosynthesis and cellular respiration in bio, and we can't see it.
You can try and count bubbles, but it's not really.
It's
that
hard to
accurate.
conceptualize, but then in chemistry, it's more tangible. As I said before, the things we learned are demonstrated through the experiments we have in class.
I feel like people commonly associate chem with just like equations, but it's really not. There is a lot more to it. So as aforementioned, if you want to know more about it, flip through the textbook. It really won't take you long. Just look through the units and table of contents of each.